Hello and welcome. This time around, we have a total of 7 submissions, with Angry Timpor by MGB, which is a Timpor submission, Oregon Laser Cruiser with drone support, which is a 10-ship Veterans Challenge fleet by Skill, Extreme Ruination 3 by Debris, which is a 1-ship True Terran submission, Revelation Fleet by Leolf, a 10-ship True Terran fleet, Untested TT Blobs, a dual-ship True Terran submission by Owl Feathers, Bonk, a Timpor submission by Joyous18, and Zbinala, Banners Edition by Dill Pickaxe, which is a 2-ship Spile Mounts fleet. Without saying much more, let's get right into the one and only subpool this tournament. First up, we have Angry Timpor by MGV versus Argon Lazy Cruiser by Skill. Of course, I always forget to pause from the start. The arena is quite small as we can see, and the rounds should end quite quickly. On one side we have Angry Timpor, with a quite large ship made up of maximum scale hexagons, and a core here with some photosynthesis, as well as a possibly max scale cannon, a max scale Gatling gun, and a factory. While the supporting ships are incredibly cheap at just 100p for this size, with a lot of very tiny Gatling guns and considerable thrust. They do also build very fast, as you can see here, already partly built. Then we have the Laser Cruiser, again with the laser array at the front, quite heavy shielding for VC standards. These black things are in fact generator lines, and we have the core protected by armor shield, and these questionable thruster stacks. Then the last of his fleet are these smaller ships using small lasers, large shields, and core once again protected by armor shield. So both here can potentially win, and we'll see. So from the start we can see some of these small swarm ships taking damage and being destroyed, but they are quickly being replaced. Oh, we can see Skill's ships survive with that armor shield. It is actually quite durable for the price, and can protect from splash. Yeah, Skill's cores actually appear to be quite resilient. Of course, not invisible, this is still Veterans Challenge. Oh, and I did not look at this. It appears that MGV replicated its main ship, and the replica destroyed Skill's main ship. The win goes to MGV. Not sure if it was elimination, but he certainly came close. So once again we have a similar start. MGV's main ship has been replicated, and the two main ships are now facing off. Sadly, Skill is not really focusing its beam array, and it is probably too late, would have been anyways. I really doubt Skill can get through all of that armor. The large lasers have lately been nerfed since they seem quite powerful for VC. Oh, we can see MGV's ship kind of bug out. Luckily, it did not blast across the map. We can see the armor shield finally failed on the main ship, and Skill lost. The win goes to MGV. Now we have MGV versus Debris. or debris, depending on how you want it said. So we can see bombardment missiles and a tactical nuke. Considerable thrust. This is, of course, a lot of bulk and spaced armor, and a large capacitor bank, with the core over here. So I am not sure the tactical nuke can reach MGV's core. Yeah, it can't. So I'm not sure what debris can do. Of course, if debris can deal with these smaller swarm ships, his armor may be able to hold off MGV's craft until the end. Yeah, we can see the bombardment missiles are able to one-shot MGV's support crafts. Yeah, we can see MGV just glitch out since the child ships are getting stuck inside the ship. The first round goes to debris. Timpor does have a lot of damage, but maybe not enough. Especially not to break through something huge like that. And besides, this is a very large amount of bulk for a just 1500 P craft. MGV only has his main ship remaining from the original fleet, and it is face-offing with debris, and debris has no nukes left. With only a few seconds remaining, it appears that MGV will lose again. The final win goes to debris. Now we have Leolf here, with his almost invisible crafts. First we have the support ships, which have quite a lot of bulk for being quite cheap. They have a shotgun, a minigun, of course the core, and considerable thrust. And it appears that Leolf chose to not use any turning thrust and instead go with a gyroscope. Gyroscopes are quite cheap, this one only 20p, and the main cost is in draining energy, which might not matter for small crafts like these, since the core has excess energy anyways. And here we have the main craft with a large cruise missile launcher. I do not believe the largest. Core, generator, and this time turning thrust. It does also appear that he utilized a lot of the smaller heavy alloy pieces, which are free, probably why he used them. We can see one of the support ships rushing in quite quickly. MGV is losing support ships. Leolf's support ships are far more durable, it seems, and the large cruise missile is able to one-shot them. MGVs, I mean. The cruise missile won't be very useful against the mothership of MGV though. Leolf was leading on points, but he was hit a little by the large cannon. The first round goes to MGV. He put up a good fight and managed to drain a lot of points from Leolf with that large cannon. As we can see, using the smallest scales of armor, because they are cheap, did not pay off against this heavy splash. Leolf does also not utilize a factory, which means he can't, well, replicate himself, which is something MGV can, his fleet always growing. The second round went to Leolf. It appears that his main ship managed to avoid that scary cannon and therefore did not lose any of its points. Leolf is currently leading on points. His main ship took some light damage, but that heavy alloy obviously shrugs it off. Leolf is still leading on points and will win this round on, well, points. Now we have MGV versus Alfeathers. Alfeathers has two identical crafts, which use heavy alloy adapters, a lot of thrust, railguns, and torpedoes, with some additional point defense, of course, and a shield. So these appear to be some sort of skirmishers or kiters, and should be decently effective against most things. They may not have perfect durability or point retention, though. We can also see that Alfeathers may not have the firepower needed to break through all of this Timpor bulk. His two ships have now spread out. These are very small crafts compared to what MGV has. Just one of the super cheap support crafts are considerably larger than Alfeathers. But Alfeathers is leading on points and managed to dodge the majority of damage. And of course they have a shield, so splash may be ineffective. Alfeathers is currently leading considerably on points and is quite good at dodging the slow Timpor fire. He may only do chip damage, but it is clearly enough to just gain the points needed to win. The final win goes to Alfeathers. He was too agile and had the shield, leading to quite good point retention. Now, we can see that Timpor has started to be quite popular, since we now have two of them against each other. Here we have Joyous with Bonk. First up, we have these very tiny swarm crafts, Very cheap, some thrusters and some Gatling guns. Then we have these a bit larger ships, which are star-shaped, and pretty much just are the smaller kind, with some slapped on armor and thrusters. Then we have the factory ships, which are almost circular, with, well, thrust, a lot of bulk, some photosynthesis, and a factory, which is the most important part. Then the last appears to be some sort of just high damage Gatling gun spammer. It is just spamming a lot of Gatling guns. It appears that this whole submission is based around Gatling guns. I am not sure how well Joyce's most expensive ship will survive, but it definitely does the damage necessary to break through Timpor. Joyous has lost a factory ship, but he has also replicated. Oh, it appears that Joyce's tiny ships managed to break one of the support ships. Oh, I may have underestimated how much damage Timpor does. Even the tiny support ships are able to rip straight through these support ships MGV has. And the big one, yeah, does a lot of damage. It is not particularly durable though, and MGV ends up with the win. Joyous simply lost too many ships, while MGV is safe and sound inside this large block of armor. Sadly, the factory ships are rushing, taking heavy damage. OMGV is making another main ship, likely with the resources gathered from Joyce's remains. Oh, the most expensive ship tried to dig through but couldn't, and the win went to MGV. MGV is currently leading in the tournament. Now we have MGV versus Dill Pickaxe. These are the spinal mounts, kiters, skirmishers. I'm not sure. This one has the minigun due to much generators, and this one is the cannon. They seem to be quite speedy, but very fragile. We'll see how they will do. I cannot see how Dill Pickaxe will break through the armor of all of these crafts. Dill is currently leading on points. He is too quick to be hit by the slow temporal weaponry, and goes with the first round. I expect the second round to go quite similar, unless Dill Pickaxe does something very stupid. He has already destroyed 2 support ships, being quite lucky with the orientation of them. Now 3 ships are gone and MGV's win seems quite unlikely. Odell took a cannon shot directly to the face of some reason and bled off quite a lot of points. He's still leading though, and with only a few seconds remaining, his point lead seems secure. The win ends with Dale pickaxe. Now we have skill versus debris. Now debris' win depends on whether his bombardment missiles or nukes end up going for the main craft only or the support crafts. If debris ends up destroying the main ship, he may win. Otherwise, skill will likely just win with the point lead, which will of course not be great for debris. Skill has a large point lead, and debris seems unable to deal with all of them. The first round goes to skill on a point lead. We can see the nuke effectively destroying a whole craft each time it hits something, but the radius of the skill's large shield is actually large enough to stop most of the nuke damage. Meanwhile, they also have enough regeneration to survive bombardment missiles back. And the second round also goes to skill, meaning he gets the point. Now we have skill versus Lyolf. Lyolf has far more ships and is more likely to be able to deal with all of this swarm. Lyolf's ships are also very durable, meaning the laser array is unlikely to have a high effect. You can see Lyolf has barely lost any points. Meanwhile, skill is losing ships. Lyolf seems occupied with durable cores. Skill was able to survive with his points. It is quite sad there is no weighted point system where not the P decides the points you start with, but everyone starts with 100 and you lose at the rate you lose points. But there is nothing like that, and well, factions with higher P costs by default win unless they lose too much. Of course, the main craft has now taken heavy damage, giving Lyolf some sort of fighting chance. But victory at this point is unlikely. And the victory goes to skill. Now we have skill versus Alfeathers. It seems Alfeathers is able to one-shot these smaller ships. An Alfeather is durable enough to survive the laser array. The laser array is also quite slow turning, meaning it won't be as effective as it could. Regardless, Outfitters took some very heavy damage, almost losing a ship. He still might, and a ship has been lost by Outfitters. It appears that these protected cores are quite durable, and it is a viable strategy. The first round goes to skill. Feathers is off to a worse start, losing a ship this early. The splash damage from the torpedoes is sufficient to break the armor shield. Almost. There is just too little time to defeat skill, sadly. Now we have skill versus Joyous. Joyous does have a lot of damage, so he can potentially destroy the main ship if he would have gotten closer. Sadly, the AI was not intelligent enough and did not choose to get close. We can see the AI of the child ships being quite bad, not really helping out a lot. And the first round goes to skill. Joyous already lost his main craft due to a very low durability. And this one lacked its generators, I believe. Oh! Skill has lost his main ship, giving Joyous a considerable chance to win. If he just can get rid of these small ships as soon as possible. And Skill was almost defeated on elimination, giving Joyous the second round. Now, if the most expensive ship just doesn't die, it can quite easily cut through the laser cruiser. But it made a dump maneuver and just died. One of the factory ships are taking a very bad turn, exposing their core. Skill's main ship is still alive. And the win ultimately ends with Skill. He just starts with too much points. Now we have Dill Pickaxe versus Skill, and I imagine The laser array will be able to deal with Dill Pickaxe if it can turn quickly enough, that is. The lasers have been slowed down. Dill Pickaxe has lost one of his ships now, and soon the second. The first round goes to skill. Dill Pickaxe has too little ability to deal with many small things all at once, and too much of his points are invested in thrusters, mobility. He just doesn't have the firepower or fleet to deal with large numbers. We can see the shields on Skill's fleet actually being surprisingly effective, and the win goes to Skill. Now we have Debris versus Leolf. Both are true Terran submissions, and we can see the tactical nuke just blasting away two of the Elf's ships. You can also see the bombardment missiles reaching the cores. Yeah, the against relatively small, well, not small for this budget, but against relatively small and ships that use small parts, yeah, the tactical nuke is a very deadly thing. The bombardment missiles reaching the core means death, and the first round ends with Debris. He has far too much bulk and powerful splash, which effectively counters the elf, who has no shields and not heavy enough damage to break through this kind of bulk. The tactical nuke being devastating. Another tactical nuke is launched, and another ship is gone. Debris has barely lost 100 points, while the elf has lost about half. Debris just regenerating casually in the middle of the fight. And the win goes to Debris. Now we have Debris versus Owl Feathers. I am not sure Debris will hit Owl Feathers. And if Owl Feathers manages to not be hit, he may win on points. Of course, the tactical nuke may go off at any time, and when it does, it will remove a ship. Just like that. Alphaders is executing since Debris no longer has the ability to make nukes, but there is still one flying over here, and I would suggest not ramming that nuke, or being near it at all. Oh, barely missing that. And not. Well then, the first round went to Debris. Owl Feathers currently has a point lead, and he was trapped, which led to him being hit by a nuke. That didn't go well, and now Owl Feathers is just completely losing on points. And the point goes to Debris. Skill is still leading this tournament. Now we have Joyous. He may be able to get through with that damage. Yeah, he does not have much splash resistance, and sadly enough, the splash got through. Joyous may have forgotten the existence of Splash. The first round goes to Debris. Joyous lost his main damage dealer and, well, his tiny probes are just being evaporated, removed from existence by the bombardment missiles. And there are far more than needed bombardment missiles for everyone. And the damage dealer is gone. And only some tiny swarm ships remain. Only one ship remains with Joyous, and it may die at any point. I think it is the one over here. This is not a secure location. It is doing its best though, but yeah. The time ran out. The last tiny ship did its best, but that wasn't enough. Now we have Debris versus Dill Pickaxe. Dill Pickaxe instantly turning into a husk. A skeleton. And we only have the cannon craft left. The one craft which also turned into a skeleton. We can see Dill having fun turning into husks. Pulling high Gs. Some bombardment missiles just lightly tapping his craft, and that was something. Now we have Leolf versus Alfeathers. Oh, Alfeathers did some... Oh, he actually destroyed the craft. I maybe thought he did some phasing, but no. Oh, this is a quite close match. Alfeathers is currently losing on points. And the first round goes to Leolf. Leolf has too much bulk for the very low damage railguns Alfeathers uses. The railguns have quite high piercing power, very good range, and extreme velocity, yet they don't have great DPS. They had to have some disadvantage, and they really drain energy. As a downside. And Leol's fleet is quite bulky. gyroscopes are working surprisingly well. This is one of the first uses we have seen of it, which has actually had a good purpose and good use. Leolf has a considerable point lead, and the win goes to him. Now we have Leolf versus Joyous 18. The Joyous's main craft was almost destroyed instantly, and Leo's ships are actually taking the damage, surprisingly. We saw that ship rip through Timpor earlier. Oh, Leof's main ship is taking the heavy damage and he lost his core. Leof, however, is still leading slightly on points. Not everything is lost. But 20 seconds left. I wonder if Leof can make it. Oh, Leof is now... Oh, for a moment he lost his point lead, but it's back. And Leof barely wins, even though he lost his main ship. That was a very close fight, and both sides put up a great fight. Now we can see the main ship having some time on target, destroying all of Leolf's ships. This time Leolf's ships are too occupied with the factory ships, which are partly factory ships and partly troll ships made to just take damage. For the fleet, of course. Even though Leolf has had considerable casualties, he is still alive and has not lost anything very important. He's not leading on points though, but now he is. He took out Joyce's main ship in one shot, and we see some minor disturbance, and Leolf wins. Nice looking and powerful. Now we have Leolf versus Dill Pickaxe. Dill may be able to do a lot with that large splash cannon, but so may Leolf with that large splash missile. Both of these fleets are quite vulnerable to splash. Dill lost his cannon ship, while Leolf lost his missile ship. Seems like an equal exchange. Surprisingly equal. Leolf almost survived, but his core was trapped inside his own craft. He must have had some fragile connections around his core. Those are not suggested, since splash is quite common in MLT. Dill Pickaxe's ship didn't really do much, at least the minigun ship, while the cannon ship did well. It appears Leolf was fragile from the back, and we can see a lot of small parts there, so that seems likely. Currently, Leolf is leading on points, and Dill is wasting his... I was going to say shots at Leolf's tiny ships, but no, he just wasted a whole ship on that. Well then, Leolf is as good as invulnerable with that heavy alloy against Dill Pickaxe's minigun, and that's that. Leolf wins again. Leolf is now on 3rd place with Debris on 2nd, and I believe MGV on 1st. Unless that was skill. We now have Owl Feathers versus Joyous. Joyous, already having lost something important. Joyous lost his main damage dealer. Alphedrus has not lost any ships, because he is so agile and has decent defense. With only a few seconds remaining, we can see Alphedrus lost considerable points, but is still leading enough to take the win. We can see the initial torpedo volley not doing a ton against these large bulk crafts. I believe the key for Alphedrus to win is to just take out this fragile main craft. Alphedrus is still leading, even while being chased by a quite large swarm at this point, and Alphedrus lost a ship to the main damage dealer. This is the main threat, and just 1 second of fire from it means death. Joyous wins round 2. Alphedrus takes the initial point lead, but he loses a ship to the main damage dealer once again. It is quite fragile, but the damage output is amazing. With only one ship, Alphedrus is as good as doomed. With Joyce's fleet only growing. And the win goes to Joyous. Seems like the factory strategy is still effective. Now we have Alphedrus versus Dill Pickaxe. Dill Pickaxe only has weaponry which will be ineffective against Alphedrus. The cannon can be blocked by the shield, and the railgun just doesn't have enough continuous aim on Alphedrus to do any serious damage. It needs time on target, and with agile targets like Alphedrus, that is not going to happen. Alphedrus has the considerable point lead. Dill Pickaxe is able to take this damage though, since he is made out of armor plus, which is very durable. And the first round ends up with Alphedrus. Alphedrus just tanking 1 large cannon shot, 2 large cannon shots. A third! Alphedrus is just ignoring the firepower of the large cannon, since the shield is easily able to take it. For a moment at least. This is a very poor matchup for Dill. He is most useful against slow opponents. Dill did not lose any ships this time, but Alfeather still won on points. Now we are nearing the last fight, with Joyous versus Dill. Dill has the damage to take out the damage dealer, so he could potentially win. We just saw a tiny drone ship actually ram into a stationary projectile, a cannon shot, and evaporating. Not very intelligent, this AI. Dill is barely leading on points. Joyce's fleet has grown considerable, but Dill did lead with like 30 points. Joyous instantly lost considerable points. Dill is able to dodge the majority of the fire, and Joyous lacks the durability of MGV, allowing Dill to pick off at least some of the ships. Joyous is now considerably below 1000 P, with Dill not even having lost 100. The win goes to Dill, and this concludes the sub pool. Moving on, we have the champion pool. The champion pool contains a total of 3 submissions, with Argon Laser Cruiser by skill, Extreme Ruination 3 by debris, and Revelation Fleet by Leolf. These are the only ones which advanced to champion pool this tournament. First up, we have skill versus debris. In the sub-pool, debris lost versus skill. But this may change if the nuke just hits the right target. We can see the large shields on skills ships are actually sufficiently large to pretty much block the tactical nuke completely, giving skill a very high resistance against debris strategy. We can see skill burning through debris armor. He may reach the core before the round ends. Debris only has one layer of armor left until capacitors are exposed. The nuke launcher is now gone and the core is taken out. The first round goes to skill, using roughly half of the maximum time. Debris is now wasting bombardment missiles on shields, but all of Skill's ships are quite heavily shielded, so I guess it doesn't matter. Debris is now taking damage from the back, where he is most exposed. Debris is now soon cored, and half of the time is remaining. Debris has turned a little, saving his core somewhat. This tiny craft is about to core Debris' core. The core is partly exposed. The core is now completely detached, but it hid itself again. But Debris only has 2 points remaining, leaving Skill with a major point lead, leading to his win. The point went to Skill. Now we have Skill versus the Wolf. Leolf's main ship is now targeting Skill, which is the wise choice. Skill is losing a large amount of bulk with each missile, but Leolf changed target. Skill's strategy is based around surviving until the timer runs out. With the timer lasting for 3 times as long, the requirement is far higher. We can see Skill's fleet being mostly devastated, and soon the swarm will encompass his cruiser. Only one support ship remaining. The armor shield trying to hold up, but it's not sufficient. The swarm is now digging through to his core. Generators exploding, and the core region is gone. The first round goes to Leo. The main ship is currently under attack, losing parts of its laser array. Oh, I didn't notice the core area has taken damage. The core is now exposed and detached. The cruiser is gone, giving Leolf the chance to take out the rest of the fleet without any resistance. These shields have proven to be quite useful against Splash, the large shields I mean, but they are still extremely weak against any kinetic damage. The win goes to Leol. Now we have Debris versus Leol. We can see Leolf taking extreme damage with each tactical nuke, losing even multiple ships, while the bombardment missiles just devastate the small block armor he uses. Debris has pretty much cleared out the area around himself. Only one support ship from Leolf remains. And only Leolf's main ship remains with 600 points. Meanwhile, Debris has almost lost no points defending against these cruise missiles. Debris appears to be quite speedy for his size. He may just look speedy due to a very small arena. Leolf is now not making any progress. Debris has regenerated and now has a small buffer to losing points. The bombardment missiles are trying to reach across the whole map, and they do, but Leolf has point defense, defending against them. These colors remind me of granite in Terraria and the golems that live there. A very nice color. Debris appears to have run out of power and is now shooting slower. The first round goes to Debris. His splash is too effective against Leo. Only his main craft has point defense, so all these bombardment missiles do hit his secondary crafts. Meanwhile, the tactical nuke just splatters them. Only one support ship remaining and a minute has gone. Only Leolf's main ship remains. Debris is currently neutralizing all of Leolf's missiles with his bombardment missiles. Well, most anyways. By random chance. At least he was. Debris has a very considerable point lead. Over double Leolf's points. And Leolf is making no progress. The new bombardment craft is definitely dangerous against anything unshielded, as you can see by the minefield, no, wreckage field, scattered around the map. The win of the final match goes to Debris, and there is no decisive victor. This concludes the short MLT 8.6, a relatively short but diverse tournament. I hope everyone had fun and enjoyed this tournament. See you next time.